Hey, what's up guys? Today we're going to be throwing in my Forge 22T. Today's the day we're going to be putting the engine back in. It's all basically complete. Just went ahead and assembled everything pretty much that I could on the engine stand. Just, I don't know, I mean, out of choice really. You don't have to. But I want to do a quick overview of some stuff I did for the Haltech before we put it in. So this is some of the wiring right here. So this is a harness that I made from a spare connector that I had, and I have these all labeled. So that'll plug in there. That is a oil pressure and temperature combination sensor from Haltech. They sell, I think it's Bosch. It's pretty nice. You know, they come with pins, and I just crimped the pins on. I used some of the old LS harness for wires, and pretty easy. And then this basically goes up here. This connector here has all the stuff for that. I think that one's 5 wires because that's both oil pressure and temperature. And then this connector also has my signals for coilover plug, which runs up here. This is actually the ground for the coilover plug. So this goes over to the strut tower. There I have the other side of the connector. And then this runs back here. I've got intake air temp right there. And then the other part of it, I don't know if you can see that, it goes back and joins in with the rest of the harness on, I don't know if you can see over here either. It joins in there to that section of the harness and then divides to the coilover plug stuff. So it's basically just coilover plug, intake air temp. Oh yeah, the coolant sensor as well, way buried in there. I have a Haltech coolant temperature sensor in the stock location. And yeah, and so that all just comes out here, and I'll have one big connector, and I've got extra wires here, so if I add stuff in the future, I have a few more options. I just taped it up on that side. So for now, I'm going to leave this unplugged and like fold it up out of the way while we put the engine in. So, but yeah, that's basically it. I also got my cooling system mod, so this helps get coolant to cylinder 4, which I guess has issues with that. So it just goes in there. I used a normal metal Subaru drain plug washer for like your oil pan. And this will tie in with one of the heater core hoses. But I don't want to decide where it's going to go yet because the steering column's right there. So I need to make sure it's not going to rub on that. But yeah. Oh, and the power for the coilover plug, just so you guys know, is coming from the factory part of the harness. That would be kind of in this section of the harness that would normally go to power the coil for the waste spark. I just divided that into 4, so it's getting power from there, and that's how I had it running before, and it worked just fine. And then separate ground on the strut tower, and then 4 signals from the ECU, and that's basically it. Just have this rag on here because the chain is sitting on the polished manifold. I don't want it to scratch it. So, but yeah, so we're gonna start picking this up, and then we got to get the clutch on and then start slamming it in the engine bay. Reusing my clutch, which I'm not too happy about. Wanted to get a nice one, but yeah, it's so I got a new fork and throw bearing. It's an 06 to 13 WRX clutch. It's like a stage 2 XTD eBay one that has been holding up fine. I previously didn't have the correct throw bearing or fork for it, so it was really stiff and grabbed really low. So this should help with that, so it'll grab more in the middle and not be quite as stiff. But it's just a eBay clutch. I mean, for all I know, I'm going to blow through it on the dyno and have to change it right away, but the clutch I actually want's like $700, so it's just kind of not in the budget right now, and I want to get the car going, so I'll just see if this one can hold up. And yeah, it's the transmission is an 03 Legacy L 5-speed, so it's 3.9. yeah, cable speedo. And yeah, I just have a first gen 3.9 diff from an automatic in the back. So yeah, we're gonna start getting it in there now. Also, real quick, I think we'll put a build list for this engine in the description, because it's kind of a long list. It's but yeah, so rather than just going through the whole list, which if you guys have been following the engine build, you probably know what everything is, but we'll put it all in the description so you can see, like, you know, what injectors I got and, you know, all that stuff. So alright, engine is in. Just doing a little bit of test fitting because I got this new power steering setup to go with the STI rack that's in now with STI subframe. This is a 03 Legacy, or I think Outback, power steering pump and reservoir and lines, which actually thread onto the STI rack just fine, and they clear the up pipe by a good like 2 inches versus my old ones that did not clear. I just had naturally aspirated first gen lines before, and they were a huge pain. I had to like bend them out of the way of the up pipe, and they were almost touching it. These are way farther away. The only issue is that it might be a little close to the wastegate, but as I figure out the intake and stuff, I can always move these around. I can also crack this free and rotate a little bit to take some slack out of this and get that one farther away. But so I'll deal with that a little bit later. And then this reservoir should still need to test fit it with the radiator, but should just kind of sit down in here. I can do it with one hand. So it'll sit down in there. I'll trim this hose up and it'll go on like that. The only issue is that it might rub on the timing cover right there. Something I'll keep an eye on in the future. I might come up with a better solution or just totally relocate this reservoir in the future. But for now, we're going to test fit it with the radiator, so pull that back out. Yeah, I got a belt on it. I think the pulley diameter is different for the pump, so has to be a belt to match the pump. But yeah, so far everything's looking good. This I'm going to deal with in the future. It's I painted it copper and then it all flaked off. I'll deal with it at some point, but that's easy to do later. It's right on top. And if you're curious, this is a metal WRX expansion tank that I just used the one bolt on the Legacy alternator bracket right there. So it's actually bolted on. I just have a lock washer on a bolt there. So, and I've never had an issue with it. It hasn't rotated or anything. It did almost touch the STI dipstick tube right here. I just gave it a little tug and now it's got like a little hair's width in between. But yeah. So yeah, just working on test fitting and, you know, slowly inching away at it. I'll go over some quick things that I did in the time lapse. It's doing things like just hooking up the radiator. This ended up fitting pretty well with that running underneath the radiator hose there. I did run the vent for the gas tank down into the frame down there. Probably can't see, but it goes into the frame rail right there. So that'll be nice, better than just venting into the engine bay. You know, just put on the valve cover breathers that go to my catch can up there. Started test fitting the intake, trying to figure out some stuff I need to get. It's basically an epoxy intake, but I'm deleting the mass airflow sensor because I want to go speed density because of the Haltech. So I'm going to start doing that, and then you know, just basic stuff like put on my reservoir, and this hose just runs under here and goes to there. This hose right here goes to the radiator there, just goes behind. This one I don't have a hose clamp for yet, and I don't have a hose clamp for the turbo side back there. That's the same hose, it just runs around. And then I hooked up the cylinder 4 cooling system mod, so I just found a good spot in the heater core hose where it's well away from the steering column and all that, and hooked that up. And yeah, I still got to do the starter. I still have a ton of wiring to do in this area, so I don't know how far I'm gonna go. I might want to finish the wiring before I do anything else, just because all this stuff is kind of tucked back here. This is my coil signals to the ECU. So yeah, I mean, it's a slow process. The starter's down there somewhere. It kind of fell. It's hanging by the wires. But yeah, throttle cable's hooked up. Motor mounts are bolted in. You know, just basic stuff. So yeah, I don't know.
Wastegate stuff. You gotta talk about. Did you get that stuff?
I didn't do anything with the wastegate yet. Yeah, still need to.
So you have a new solenoid to put on, right?
Yeah, I have a new. I have the Haltech boost control solenoid. So, but that'll be in the Haltech install video. So, I'll go over more of what this wiring is and everything again in that video, in case you know whoever's watching that video didn't watch this video. But yeah, I think that's gonna be it for this one. Engine's at least back in, so you can get a glimpse of the wheels again. And then now we have a free engine stand, so pressing and start tearing down the 255 from the 06 Legacy GT he bought that has rod knock. So it sounded really, really, really bad. Typical. So yeah, so we'll probably make another video on that.